Hi everyone and welcome to this Ask Me Anything session. I hope all of you are doing well, and today's session we are going to focus on SimCATs. So SimCATs are going to start very soon. In fact, we have already started our pre-SimCATs, something which is a precursor to SimCATs, and what we target or something that is targeted at the first time CAT takers. So I'm guessing a lot of you have already started taking the pre-SimCATs. We are in the middle of pre-SimCAT 2 at this point of time when we are doing the session. So we have 3 pre-SimCATs that we do, and then we start our actual SimCAT season, the proctored SimCAT season, wherein we'll have 20 full-length proctored tests. Each test happens from Friday to Monday. That is typically the proctored window. So today I'm going to talk about all of these things. So how do you prepare for the SimCAT? Who should be taking the SimCATs and when? How do you create the entire plan for all the 20 SimCATs and the take-home SimCATs that you get? So those are the focus areas for this particular session. So welcome to all of you, and I'm pretty sure that those of you already started taking the pre-SimCATs have kind of got a flavor of what the SimCATs are going to be. Some of you were our students last year as well, so you kind of know the drill. But today let's start as if you don't know anything, and we'll discuss SimCATs. Okay. If you have any questions, please let me know. So whether it is regarding SimCATs or CAT 26 preparation, I'll be very happy to take your queries. So let me know if you have any queries. I hope all of you are able to hear me clearly as well. In case there's anything on that front, please let me know. Okay, great. So okay, let's begin with the session, and of course I don't have any questions that we have got before we started the session. So any queries that you have, just put it in the chat section, right? So I'll be taking it from there, and I'll answer the questions as we progress. Okay, so firstly, what are SimCATs? So some of you may not be familiar with it. So SimCATs are essentially our full-length mock test, right? So IMS's full-length mock test series is called the SimCATs, and we have 3 different, if you look at the variants that are available for the students, what you can do is you can look at them on our website. So I'll give a link in the description so all of you can check it out in case you're somebody who has not signed up for any mock test series and you're planning to join one. So definitely have a look at that. So essentially when we look at SimCATs, right, SimCATs come with a lot of features, but just to broadly talk about the main features that are available to everybody, right? So there are 3 variants that are available. You have SimCAT Ultimate, Plus and Core, and you can look at the program features in detail on the website, and I'll share a link with all of you. But firstly, the most important feature, right, of the SimCATs is that all 40 SimCATs that we have come with video solutions. And that is very, very crucial because it helps you to understand how exactly you are supposed to solve a particular question. So when you read the text solutions generally get written to address everybody, the broader audience that is out there. But when you look at the video solution, you get to understand the best method to solve something. And in fact, when you write a text solution, sometimes it is not even possible to clearly demonstrate how somebody would be solving a question if it is in a test condition. And that is why video solutions are super crucial when you look at a test series, and that is what SimCATs offer. So every SimCAT that you're going to take is going to have video solutions. There are 2 types of SimCATs that we run. One is what is called a proctored SimCAT. Now, why do we call it a proctored SimCAT is though there is no proctoring that is happening, which means that there is no invigilator who is sitting and then you are taking the test in front of that invigilator. Proctored means that it is happening in a certain window, and every Friday to Monday. So not every Friday, but whatever SimCATs happen, they start from Friday and they end on Monday. So we have a SimCAT schedule again, which is available on our website, so you can check it out from there. But there is a definite window in which these SimCATs are conducted. Now, why conduct it in a window, right? So firstly, when we conduct it in a window, we also give you ranking, and it tells you that, okay, this is the rank that you got out of n number of takers that are out there for that particular SimCAT. Of course, you'll also get your percentile position. Okay. We also offer something called a predicted CAT percentile, which tells you that if, let's say, you have more audience taking that particular test, and let's say this is an actual test of CAT, this would be your percentile. So for example, you will see that, let's say for maybe SimCAT 1, you scored say a 94 percentile. It will also give you a predicted CAT percentile, which could be say a 97 point something or a 98 point something, right? So it's an algorithm that we created using past data of students as to how they performed on their SimCATs and how they eventually did on the CAT. So using that, we give you the predicted CAT percentile as well, right? So which is again a very useful data point to look at. So as you can see, SimCAT 1 is going to start from 24th April and it is going to end on the 27th April. So Friday to Monday. And then Tuesday generally when we process the entire results, and by generally Tuesday end of day or max to max Wednesday, you are able to get the video solutions, the entire analysis, and of course the rank and the percentile. Okay, so that is how we typically operate. So this is the first set, which is the 20 proctored SimCATs that you will have, and the entire schedule is there. This is going to continue, so I'll just take you back there. So the entire schedule is available. So the last SimCAT this year is going to be from 20th November to 23rd November. This is assuming the CAT is going to happen on the last Sunday of November, though that particular trend hasn't really changed. So mostly that is how it will be. But in case there is any change, we'll have to maybe adjust things here a little bit. We'll do that, but only if it is required. Otherwise, this is going to be the entire schedule for this year. Okay. Then we have something called take-home SimCATs. Now, what are take-home SimCATs? So when I say 40 SimCATs here, 20 are going to be proctored and 20 are going to be take-home, which means that you can take them at any point of time. So the reason why we have proctored, as I mentioned, right, is to give you, of course, the rank and the percentile, so the real-time competition you are able to sense. But it also creates a discipline, right? That's a very important thing, that it forces people to have that discipline of showing up. Whether you are prepared or not, that's secondary. But let's say you book a slot on a Saturday, you will show up and take the test, right? That is of prime importance. And then, as I mentioned, you have the remaining 20 that are going to be take-home SimCATs, which means you can take them any point of time after they are released. So, for example, now SimCAT take home 1 to 5. So, the first 5 out of 20 will get released on 29th April. So, after 29th April, you can take them whenever you want, and they will be available till the end of the season. So you can take them whenever you want. So somebody wants to take them, let's say in May, you can do that. Somebody wants to reserve them from, let's say, June or July, you can do that as well, right? So it is completely up to you when you want to take the take-home test after they get released. Now, even for proctored SimCATs, a lot of times students have this concern that they think that the test will be accessible only during this period. So that's not the case. What this means is that if you take it during the window, you get your rank. But if you don't get it, if you don't take it during the window, you are essentially not part of the pool that we are considering for ranking. What will eventually happen is you will still be able to take the test. So don't think that I have to take it during the window, though that will be something that you should be doing. You have to take it during the window. But in case you miss it for whatever reasons, you have college exams, you have work, you have some other pressure going on, for whatever reasons you're not able to take it during the window, you can take it at a later point of time. Okay, so in fact we have a lot of students who start say around May, June, July or August, right? Obviously they will not be able to take it during the proctored window, but they can take it at a later point of time. They will get pretty much everything, so all the analytics, the video solutions and all of that, that thing will be same for everybody, so don't worry about that. Question from Pritosh Thomas, does take-home SimCATs have questions from last year's proctored SimCATs? Yes, that's what we do, but it's not exact copy to copy. So don't think that, for example, say a particular take-home SimCAT from this year is going to be exact replica of proctored SimCAT of a certain past year, question by question, right? That is not how it will be. Because what we also do is, see, every year when we create proctored SimCATs, right, that they are created with certain expectation that this is how CAT will unfold, right? Now, let's say CAT changes for whatever reason. Suddenly CAT becomes difficult, suddenly it becomes easy, or the number of questions change. Obviously, we will also make changes to the test, right? So, which were proctored from a particular year. So, when we use proctored SimCATs from the past years to create take-homes for a particular year, we also factor those things in as to what has happened in the CAT in the last couple of years and whether we can use the questions as it is or we need to change anything about them, right? It could be, let's say, in a particular DI set, adding more question, or from a particular LR set, maybe reducing the number of questions, or changing an entire RC altogether, right? So it depends. So of course we use the question bank, right? So whatever past proctored SimCATs we have had, they are excellent quality questions, right? So every year proctored SimCATs get created from scratch, and we don't want to waste quality questions, obviously. And considering CAT hasn't changed in terms of its syllabus over all these years, we can do that. And that is why we use questions from the proctored SimCATs of a particular year and over the next couple of years we end up using those questions for the SimCAT take homes. Okay. What it also allows us to do is to give you question wise statistics, because the data from the past is something that we have as to how many people attempted a particular question, what percentage of people got it wrong, and so on and so forth. So all of that is very useful data, which allows us to give you things like p-values, something that tells you how difficult a question was, or medium or easy it was, etc. So all of that becomes possible because of what we do, right? So yes, those are previous year's proctored SimCAT questions, but it's not exact test to test, right? So don't think that a particular year's proctored SimCAT number 1 becomes take home SimCAT 1, right? That's not how it works. Okay. Sarthak Jaiswal, why the price of SimCAT is so high this year? 7,500, last year it was 6,500 approximately. I'm not eligible for any discount. Okay. So firstly, couple of things. There's one thing that you can see has been added, right? So in fact, if you look at this, the additional 270 DLR sets, 190 RCs and 500 VA questions is something which was not there as part of SimCATs last year. So there have been some additions that have happened. For example, if you look at this entire feature table, right, and it doesn't stop here. So you have the video solutions, you have pre-SimCATs, section tests. So for each of the sections, you get 10 section tests. The adaptive practice questions, which has been the feature for the last couple of years. The AI performance insights is going to be a new feature, right? So this I haven't spoken about. So what it will do is it will take all the SimCATs that you have taken and analyze and give you insights as to what are the specific things that you need to work on, right? And something again which wasn't the case last year. So we didn't have that feature last year. The additional questions which will be released in a phase-wise manner. So we're going to have, not all of them will be released in the beginning. We're going to release them in sets. So you're going to have the first lot going in June, for example, then another in August, and then another in September, and so on. So you'll have all these additional practice questions which were not there last year. And that is why you may find the pricing to be on the slightly higher side, but honestly I would say it's not that high, right? So if you look at the overall things that you get, in fact if you look at SimCAT Ultimate, right, you have all the admits also that are covered under this. You also have the past year test papers with video solutions for some of the exams. You also have all of the strategy sessions that we do, etc. So if you look at everything, I'm pretty sure this pricing is not that expensive if you think of it, and it's fairly competitive. And the other thing is, see, I mean, SimCATs are, priced at a particular thing for a reason, right? I mean, we want to give quality through the students. So otherwise, I think it's possible for anybody to just use some set of questions, create replica questions using AI, and then sell it to you for like 2,000, 3,000 rupees, right? But is that the best way to go about it? The answer is no, right? So, and that is why we have some sort of a premium pricing, and that is what it is, right? So we would try and give you things that will match what you are paying for. So the value that you get from the cost that you're incurring, the value is going to be much higher. So you think of the value that you're going to get rather than the cost that you're going to incur. Okay. Tech site 902. Okay, I'm using IMS extensive online program. My batch started yesterday. A faculty advice to take a pre-SimCAT now, even though we are on module 0. Okay, so that's a pretty solid advice, I would say. So I would have done the same thing. So nothing different there. So the reason why you should take a full length test, right, is to first understand where you stand. So going back to this, the schedule that we had. See, when you take pre-SimCATs, right, it just sort of taking baby steps into what the actual SimCATs are going to be. So pre-SimCAT 1, 2, 3 are going to be much easier compared to what you have for the actual SimCATs. So it's like initiation, right? You're trying to understand, okay, what SimCATs are eventually going to offer you. Don't look at your score. So a common mistake that a lot of people will do, right, is they will take a test and they will think that, okay, I've got maybe, let's say 10 marks, 20 marks, 30 marks, whatever is the case. And either they will get very serious about it, or they will say, oh, it's too low and whatever, right? So don't do that. What you should do is, firstly, you haven't done any syllabus. As you're saying, you are on module 0, correct? Which means your syllabus is just started. So don't judge yourself. Don't be too harsh on yourself and say, okay, I got a low score. What you should think of is, okay, it was a good experience. I sat through the test for 2 hours. I tried doing whatever I could. And that's the whole point of test taking. So even for people who are on module 1 and module 2, we tell them to take these tests so that they know how to handle a situation where they don't know anything. See, even in CAT, it is going to be the case that, say, RC, for example, right? You're going to face RCs that you have never read in your life, mostly. And when you are faced with some sort of uncertainty, how do you deal with it? Tomorrow, you don't know how many questions are going to be, let's say, in DI or in LR. Tomorrow, they might increase the number of con questions or decrease the difficulty of it or increase the difficulty of it. You don't know any of it. So how do you deal with uncertainty? When, let's say, you're faced with 22 questions, but you know only, let's say, how to do 5, are you firstly able to identify which 5 questions are there, and can you solve them in whatever time that is available to you? So all of those things is test taking as a skill you need to develop, and you need to start it as early as possible. So that is why we tell people not to wait till the very end to take SimCATs. I mean, the earlier you start, the better it is, obviously. So it's okay. Tech Site 902, take the test. Doesn't matter how much you score. Paramjit, it was mentioned that pre-SimCAT 2 should be attended after completion of module 1 and 2. So should one wait till completion of module 1 and 2 or just go for it now? Okay, so there is a recommendation that this is how you should be doing something. The other is you can go ahead and do it by not following that recommendation. Okay, so there's nothing wrong about it. See, I've met different kinds of students, and sometimes people say that I haven't done anything, as he was saying, right, that I'm on module 0. What if I'm not able to solve anything? So that I sat through the test for 2 hours, but I don't get anything, or I get a negative score. Now, if you're somebody who tends to get demotivated by these things, it's better then that you wait, maybe complete your module 1 and then start taking test. But if you think that no, I'm not going to get disappointed, I am going to listen to what I am saying, which is basically, it doesn't matter what your score is. If I'm that kind of a person, just take the test, it doesn't matter then. If you think for whatever reasons you will end up wasting a particular test, don't worry about that again, because you have 40 full length tests. Plus you have past CAT papers. So you have enough full length tests where you can experiment, where you can take them seriously, etc. So don't think that because I take this when I'm not prepared, I'll end up wasting it. It's okay. I mean, it's completely fine. But if you're somebody who gets demotivated, I would say that you wait and maybe complete at least one module so that you're done with arithmetic, which is generally majority of the quant section, and you're able to at least attempt a few RCs, maybe one LR or DI set you will be able to solve, and that should be good enough to begin with. That is okay. Okay, TechSite 902, I answered your question, so let's move on. Lemuru, ADMAT test we need to purchase separately. I have enrolled for CAT. Okay, so if you have already enrolled as a CAT classroom student, right, all of this is already available to you. So you don't have to do anything separately. So it depends on the variant in which you have enrolled. So I would say just check the variant in which you enrolled and what were the features of the variant. Because on the website also we have different variants. There's classroom, there's live online, there is self-learning program and so on. So whichever variant you enrolled in, just check the features of that. By default, the tests are part of these things, okay? Pritosh Thomas, so how useful would the take-home SimCATs would be for me, considering I did all the 20 proctored SimCATs of last year? How many of the questions will be there from last year out of the 68? Okay, last year does not mean the last season. So when we say we use SimCATs from the past, the proctored SimCATs from the past to create take-home SimCATs, we don't use the immediate previous season. So don't worry about that, which means that if you're a student with us for CAT 25, we don't use questions from the proctored season of CAT 25 for take home of CAT 26. Okay, we call it past questions. We don't use the immediate past season. So for 26, we'll not be using questions from 25. So it will be like 22, 23, 24 or 21, depending on, okay, what tests, what questions have been used somewhere and whatever, right? So there's like whole lot of thing there. But don't worry, it's not going to be from the 25 proctored season. And because of that, of course, they'll be useful to you, right? So when you did your proctored SimCAT 25 with us, obviously you derived value from all the new tests that you had. Proctored SimCAT 26 again is going to be completely new, written from scratch. The take home of 26 are not going to be proctored of 25, which you took. So don't worry. Question from Vedant, what mistakes should we avoid in mocks which students usually do, and what would you advise us to focus more on? Vedant, that's a very good question. Thanks for asking. So mistake number one is going to be getting super fixated with your percentile in the beginning. So I've seen a lot of students, they take these tests and then they keep talking about, oh, I got this percentile, I got that percentile. I don't think you should be worrying about percentile at this point of time. So what you need to focus on is your content, that, okay, if I have done n number of topics, how many questions appeared from those topics and was I able to solve them or not? So that is why the way you evaluate your performance, right, it has to be in relation to what you've studied. Let's say you're somebody who has completed all 4 modules of CAT. Now you're taking the first SimCAT. You should be able to do, say, a certain number of questions across the topics. But let's say you're somebody who is on module 1, you've just completed module 1 or you've completed module 1 and 2, then you are not fighting with everything that you can, right? You're fighting with limited armor. So you should evaluate your performance that way. And then how I look at my quant performance, let's say, okay, I have done, say, these 8 topics. From these 8 topics, there were, say, 7 questions in the paper. Out of these 7 questions, I was able to answer correctly 5 questions. That is a better way to assess your performance or evaluate your performance, rather than thinking, oh, I was able to do only 5 questions out of 22 quant questions, which puts you in a negative state of mind. Instead, you think, okay, 7 questions is what I could have done today. Out of that, I did 5 questions, right? So that's the first thing. So don't run behind percentile. Don't be harsh on yourself in analyzing your performance and saying, okay, I know nothing. And instead of that, focus on your content, right? So speed also will happen over a period of time. So speed is a function of practice. The more questions you solve, the more exposure you have, the faster you're going to get at firstly identifying which are the right questions to solve and then solving them correctly. So don't worry about speed as well in the beginning. So I would say till about August, right? I'm not too worried about, okay, what my speed is, whether I'm able to solve, say, a certain number of questions, etc. More it is going to be that, okay, if these are the topics that I've done, am I able to identify the easy questions from those topics and solve them correctly? Doesn't matter how much time I take, right? See, gradually everybody will improve. So if you expect that, okay, in first SimCAT itself, I'll be able to give everything and give the best that I can, that may not happen. So don't get disappointed with it, right? I think I have this classic, the MJ quote, right? If you remember from one of the Spider-Man movies, that she says this thing, that if you expect disappointment, you never truly get disappointed. So I think for a couple of initial proctored SimCATs, I'm definitely going to expect disappointment, and in which case I should not be disappointed. Okay. Yeah, and then of course, as the season progresses, you will understand how to analyze the SimCAT, right? So every test that happens, what do you do after the test? So there's a methodology to it. You firstly go through each and every question, you look at the video solutions, you see what mistakes you made, you look at p-values, which basically tells you how easy, medium, difficult it was, what percentage of people solved it, what percentage of people got it right. So there are a lot of data points that you will see. Of course, we'll have a separate session and videos where we talk about how to analyze a SimCAT. Today it's a bit difficult because we don't have that data. But once we have that, say mostly after SimCAT 1, we'll have a detailed video or a session wherein we talk about it. Sarthak, still the additional practice questions are not there in SimCAT Core. Is any upcoming discount in coming few days on SimCAT Core? So of course we have NSTs that we keep doing, but we'll see if, see regarding discounts, right? I think the pricing is such that it is already fairly competitive. And for the kind of stuff that you get, right? So as I mentioned some time back as well, see, I can understand that everybody will have that concern that, okay, a certain figure might look very expensive to somebody, but you also have to think, understand what exactly, why that pricing is there, the kind of things that you're going to get in return and all of that. And then I hope that all of this, when you go through it, it puts things into perspective. Okay. I have enrolled in Focus batch. Do we also have those extra 270 DLR sets and 190 RC 500 VA? We will make it available. So that should not be a problem. I'll just check out exactly what all features are there for the Focus batch, what we have already communicated, and we'll see if that can be added. So don't worry about it. See, in fact, last year also we did this, that there were some things which we hadn't even promised and we gave it. So there was something called 800 ADMAT practice questions, which we had not communicated to anybody. So it wasn't part of the original SimCAT offering. It wasn't part of even the ADMAT program offering. Middle of the season, we decided that people needed more practice questions, and we added 800 ADMAT practice questions, which we made available to everybody, whether you're a CAT student or a CET student or an ADMAT student, right? So we tend to add more and more questions and give stuff to students that is relevant to them. And when we do that, if we believe that it is something that should be given across the variants, we'll do that. Okay. Paramjit, I'm able to solve most of the questions from module. Let's take example of arrangements, even the challenger, but when I tried benchmarking test, was only able to do one set. So, Paramjit, this happens a lot. And again, thanks for asking that question, that I may have done class exercise, I may have done practice exercise, but when I still go for, let's say, a benchmarking test or a section test or a module test or a pre-SimCAT or a SimCAT, I am not able to solve questions from that area. So, don't think that just because you've done class exercise and practice exercise, you will be able to solve those questions in the test. Because in the test, what we also do is we twist the language of the questions, we add more complexity. Sometimes we also want to educate people by telling them a certain kind of concept or a shortcut that they may not have previously encountered in the class and the practice exercise question. So think of it as class exercise and practice exercise is you know how to lift weights, but that doesn't mean that you will be able to lift every single weight that you come across. But now you have the foundation that is required to solve those questions. So for example, if you have done class exercise of let's say time speed distance, you will be able to solve a lot of time speed distance questions, but doesn't mean that you will be able to solve every single question. But as you do more and more exposure, so practice exercise, benchmarking test, pre-SimCATs, pre-class quiz, then you have basic practice exercises and all of that. So there's tons of questions that is available. The more question you do, then you start becoming better. You start becoming faster at what you already know, and you start also increasing the exposure by doing things that you don't know. The SimCAT prices are too high. Last year it was quite reasonable post the scholarship as well. Would the prices reduce this year? Okay, again, see, we have put in a lot of thought into what the pricing should be. There is something called inflation as well, which I'm sure all of you are familiar with. So definitely there are more features that we have already added, as I mentioned. So I don't think we have any scope to reduce the pricing. Maybe we'll of course have a relook at it, considering two of you already mentioned it. There are n number of waivers as well that are available. So you can check that out and decide for yourself. Okay. After every SimCAT, how much, this from Vedang, after every SimCAT, how much time to spend for analysis of each question we get wrong, or any better approaches for a certain type of question? Okay. So see, what I would suggest is after every SimCAT, which is a 2-hour effort, right? Your analysis effort is around 3 to 4 hours, or it could be even more as well, depending on how many topics you have studied. So let's say you take a SimCAT today, you are able to solve, let's say 25% of the questions. Now the remaining 75% of the questions need to be solved. So you will be solving them after you're done with your test, while you're analyzing it. You will go through their video solutions and so on and so forth. So it will take some time. So for a 2-hour full-length test, your analysis effort could be 3, 4, 5 hours, depending on how much you know. Now, as you progress, this effort will start going down, because you will also have more questions that you will be able to do. So your attempt percentage will start going up gradually, which means that the unattempted or the wrong is lower, and that is why your analysis time will also go down. But initially it will be typically higher, maybe around 4 to 5 hours per test. And in fact, that is what you should be ready for. So don't think just because I take a test, I'm done, right? And that's a common mistake. So somebody had asked what sort of mistakes people make. That is another mistake, that people want to chase a number because they can tell somebody that number. So maybe their parents or their friends that, hey, I took 8 SimCATs. But if you have taken 8 SimCATs without analysis, right, it's not going to be that helpful. So you have to also analyze them thoroughly. And that is what you would have seen, right? So if you have seen a lot of great athletes, they record themselves and they watch them. And the reason for that is because they want more data and more insight from it as to what exactly is going wrong. And that is how they are going to improve. So if you take your test and analyze it thoroughly, you're going to derive insights, and that will help you to get better eventually. So another common mistake, right? So running behind test, I want to take more tests, I want to get n percentile. that those are not the numbers to chase for. Instead, you should focus on taking a test properly, analyzing it thoroughly. Doesn't matter what you scored. At least initially, it doesn't matter. Eventually, of course, that will start mattering to you. Do additional questions also have video solutions? No. They are just practice questions that we are going to add. Again, very good quality questions, but not everything will have video solutions. Some of them may have, but currently it's not a plan that for these additional questions, it's just practice. So it's going to be in a test format or an exercise format where you can practice them, but no plans for video solutions for them. What's the eligibility to get into Club 100? Okay, so Club 100 we haven't exactly announced for this year as to how things are going to be, but I'll give you data from last year as to how it went. So for Club 100 essentially is a select group of students who have scored more than 90 percentile in 3 proctored SimCATs during the proctored window. I'll repeat, have scored 90 plus percentile on 3 proctored SimCATs during the proctored window. So then only you become eligible to be a part of Club 100. Now what happens in Club 100 is last year we had done a total of 16 sessions. These sessions are taken by very senior IMS mentors, past 100 percentilers in the individual section or overall. And these are for the audience who is at a particular level at whatever be the point. Do they have to be the first 3 SimCATs? No. They can be any 3 SimCATs. They can be, for example, you get 90 plus percentile in SimCAT number 3, 5 and 9. The moment you get 90 plus percentile on the 9th one, we will add you. So after every SimCAT, what we do is we download data of all the past SimCATs, which we already have. After every SimCAT, we add data of that SimCAT and see, okay, how many people have crossed 90 plus percentile thrice during the proctored window. And we keep adding them to Club 100. So people will continue to get added to Club 100 till November as well. So 16 additional sessions is what we did. Mostly these sessions were conducted Sundays evenings. So that is how the plan was. But for this year, we haven't formally announced it, or we haven't even decided the exact plan, etc. So we'll let you know how things are going to be this year. Okay. So that's the eligibility. I hope all of you will eventually get into it, or some of you will get it at the end of the 3 SimCATs, the first 3 SimCATs. Any information about PGDBA 26? Not very sure. In fact, I was in the morning I was checking if the result was out, which it wasn't. So I'm not very sure of the score and whether it is good or bad. I'll go back to my desk and check the details of it, but nothing that I have right now which I can talk about. Okay. Okay, Sarthak, I will address that, so I'm not going to shy away from answering that thing. Now as Amit Panchmatia sir has moved to another coaching, can we trust on quant section question quality? Okay, number one, Amit sir was not responsible for setting questions. Okay, so there is a separate academics team which sets the question. What Amit sir used to do last year and the previous years as well was recording solutions of those questions, right? So the question quality does not suffer in any way. In fact, the team that we have which creates the SimCATs hasn't changed in the last 7 to 8 years. So there hasn't been any change to that team. So nothing regarding question quality is going to get impacted because of that. So don't worry about that. Since you asked that question, I'm going to address it, right? So it's not that I'm going to shy away from answering something. Will the additional DLR sets, RCs and VA questions contain any questions that were there in practice sets under each modules last year in 25? No, will not repeat questions. So we'll use it from some of the databases that we already have. We will be authoring some new questions considering the changes that have happened in the last couple of years in CAT. So it's not going to be the questions that you already see. If I'm eligible for 2 discounts, can I get? No. You will get only one of the waivers, the maximum one that is applicable to you. Okay. All right. I think I've more or less covered everything about SimCATs, but of course, if there are any more questions, you can let me know. We can discuss them. Otherwise, we are almost done. So I hope all of you will firstly start taking the SimCATs. In case you haven't enrolled, you can sign up for it if you're somebody who is a non-IMS student. Students have already joined IMS. Of course, all of you will have access to this, so you don't have to take any action. apart from of course registering for the SimCATs and taking them during the proctored window as much as possible. See, I can understand that all of you are students in some colleges or you're working professionals, and it may happen that for whatever reasons you are not able to stick to this schedule. But understand that everything is about discipline, right? So discipline in terms of registering, showing up, and all of that. So you are answerable to yourself. Of course, though we do a lot of follow-up, we send mails to students who don't take SimCATs and all of that. So we do a lot of hand-holding and follow-up and help students. But at the same time, understand that all of you are mature individuals and you have to be responsible for the things that you do and the consequences of them, right? So I would say as much as possible, right? If I can understand a few instances here and there, something happens and life happens to everybody. But if you can show up for say 90% of the test during the proctored window, take them nicely, do the best that you can, understand that it is simulation of CAT and that is why it is called a SimCAT, and then analyze your performance, you'll have a far better outcome than somebody who just shows up and take the test without any seriousness, or who is taking it for the wrong reasons, right? So don't take it to get into Club 100. Don't take it so that you can tell your friends that, hey, I've taken so many SimCATs. Don't take it to convince your parents that you're doing something, right? So don't try to fool anybody. Do it for yourself, right? From day one, have that commitment that, okay, I'm going to show up, take the test, and going to analyze my performance. And I'll keep repeating this no matter how monotonous it gets, right? Because it will eventually. And one thing that I didn't speak about is that you're going to have some very good SimCATs, you're going to have some very bad SimCATs as well. I've had students who never crossed a 98.5 on any of the SimCATs and went on to score like 99.9 on the actual test. So we had made a video last year as to why people should take SimCATs, wherein I spoke about how the things are related, that the number of SimCATs that you take, what impact it has on the actual CAT score, and your average SimCAT percentile, how it relates to your actual CAT percentile. So it definitely has a very good correlation. So take as many tests as you can, it is going to be super useful to you. Okay, some questions. Shashi, best strategy to improve VRC. Number one is going to be reading, right? So as much as possible, read, right? So read diverse stuff. Read about 3 to 4 articles if you can daily from different sources. So one could be, let's say, an economics article, one could be related to, let's say, geopolitics, one is related to business, one related to history. So as much as possible, you read a variety of things which will make you a better reader. Organically, your vocab will start improving over a period of time. Let's say you continue to do this for 1, 2, 3 months. Post that, you will see an improvement in your vocabulary, right? So one way to get there is, of course, to by heart a lot of words, but unless you use them in a context, you tend to forget them. So that is why better is to improve it organically by reading more and trying to guess contextual meaning of the word more than anything else. So read a lot, then of course practicing. So RC practice and practicing the 4 individual areas that are tested on the CAT, the para jumbles, the para completion, summary, and all of that. So do more practice. Of course, it's a matter of just doing a certain number of questions before things start becoming very easy. Okay. SB Prep, can you come up with a video for DLR and VRC? How many total sets are there in IMS module SimCATs practice sets in total? Well, that's a good question. I don't think we have sat at any point of time and written how many total sets do we have. So that number is going to be pretty huge, but I think anybody can just do like a ballpark of that. So you take the number of section tests, the number of pre-SimCATs, proctored SimCAT, take-home SimCAT, etc. Just keep multiplying how many DLR sets would you have, how many RCs would you have. You should arrive at a number. We haven't done that exercise, but it's a good thought that you have given us, so we can try it out. What number of practice question sets with proper analysis sets a student in 19.5 bracket, irrespective of background? That's an interesting question, but see, the point is there is no unique answer to it, right? So there will be people who will be able to get there with much fewer number of questions, so maybe about 5,000-6,000 questions, but there will be people who will get there with say 10 to 12,000 questions as well. I would say a good exposure for CAT is about 8 to 10,000 questions. So on average, if you've done about 8 to 10,000 questions, mix of all 3 sections, that's a good enough exposure. But then eventually what happens, right, is a function of a lot of things as well. So what happens on the D day, for example, it's not only about how many questions you have solved, but are you able to replicate that performance? And it may happen that for whatever reason, somebody who potentially is a 99.5 plus candidate is not able to get a 99.5. Does that mean that the candidate, everything is over for the candidate? The answer is no, because you will get into some other institute, or let's say through some other test, you end up doing very well. There are examples of people getting say a 93 on the CAT but a 99 point something on the XAT. So you never know what's going to happen. You prepare with the mindset that okay, I'm going to get a 99 or whatever plus, and you don't again get fixated with that. You prepare. So you do 8 to 10,000 questions as much as possible, different set of questions. Try and remember a lot of those questions and approaches, because you tend to forget as well. So as a student, for example, right, I ended up, so the year in which I made it to the B school, that one particular year, total I must have done about 15,000 questions. And I'm not making it up, because I ended up taking 35 plus mocks for the MBA CET that year, which is 200 questions per mock. So that itself, if you do 35 into 200, you are at 7,000 questions. Okay. So 7,000 there, plus CAT mocks, XAT mocks, NMAT mocks, SNAP mocks. If you add all of that up, you're looking at nice 12,000 plus question, and in my case, it was around 15,000 questions. Maybe I could have got the same outcome by doing 12,000 questions also. You never know. So that is why there's no number as such. But if one is aiming for something, I would say 8,000 plus is a good target to keep. I've given CAT 24, I got 67 percentile, gave CAT once again in 25, but got 73 percentile. Okay, so Pratyush, see, one is you have to evaluate what went wrong, right? 67 and then 73 is not a very significant jump. So something has gone wrong. Either the prep has gone wrong, the practice hasn't been enough, or when you look at CAT as a test, right? On that D-Day, maybe you are not able to replicate. So you'll have to go back and think, okay, what went wrong? Now, if this is a trend across all the other exams as well, I would say you reevaluate whether you want to take it this year or you want to wait, maybe gather more work experience and try again after, let's say, 1 or 2 years for the executive MBA program or the 2-year full-time MBA program and so on. So I would not be able to help you much without having a lot of information on this particular thing, right? It's very limited info, 67, 73. I don't know anything else. And that is why whatever I say will not be very useful to you. Instead, what you do is, if you want, you can reach out to us, right? You can leave a comment and I'll reply on that comment. Give me more information about yourself so that I can help you better. Divij, okay. Thanks for your comment. We'll see what can be done. Okay. What should be a strategy for DILR? MCCIPU. Okay, so for DLR from day one, strategy is very simply, when I look at a set, am I able to deconstruct the set? Am I able to classify whether it is doable or not doable today? So we have a mechanism which all of you will understand as you start taking your SimCATs to assess the DLR set as to how do you classify them, how do you rate them. So we have a mechanism which we will demonstrate, and using that you can basically categorize DLR sets as, okay, should I do it today, should I not do it today? So am I able to identify the easy set, and then am I able to do it? So currently I would say for those of you who are struggling with DLR or in general don't know how to approach DLR, the approach is very simple, that when you take a pre-SimCAT or a SimCAT, figure out the easiest set, and doesn't matter how much time you take, even if you take, let's say, 30 minutes to do it, it's okay. Spend 30 minutes on one set, finish it off, get everything correct. That is the starting point. Now you know that, okay, I can at least do one set. Then you start thinking of 2 sets. The problem is that people start thinking of doing 2 or 3 sets from day one. But it's like, I'll be able to lift 100 kg when I haven't done, let's say, even 5 kg weight, right? So understand there's a difference there. And that is why have small targets, achieve them first, and then set bigger targets. So DLR, as I said, more and more practice questions, remembering approaches, and there is no syllabus as such. So whatever you come across, you should be able to crack it. Over a period of time, once you have about 400 sets kind of exposure, things start falling in place. Okay. What was your CAT and sectional percentile which year? Okay, so my scores can be divided in 2 parts. Basically, one is when I was a student, As a student, when I took my final attempt of CAT, I had a 98.28 with a 99.91 on the quant section, a 97 point something on DLR, and I had completely messed up my VRC. The percentile is not worth mentioning, so I'll not mention it. But that was the reason why I didn't get any IM calls that year. So that's the first, which is when I was a student. Post that, as a mentor, my highest has been a 99.92 overall, with the sectional best DLR being 99.93 and VRC being a 99.7. So that has been the story. Can I give my friends academic certificate to get discount and use my friend's ID to use SimCAT mocks? I hope you don't do that, right? This is cheating. So I hope you don't do it. How to revise quants more effectively along with SimCATs and learning new quant topic. So make a separate book for yourself. So maintain a separate book, or it can be, let's say, Google Slides or Docs, wherein you note down those questions. So if you encounter a new concept or a trick or a shortcut or let's say something that you want to remember for a longer period, just write it down. So as a student, one thing that I did, and which I believe a lot of people don't do anymore, is making your own formula book. So if you can do that, wherein it's written in your own handwriting, you note down everything that is important that you want to revise, because otherwise practically not possible to go back to your courseware and do all the questions again, all the concepts again. Anything and everything that is important should go to that separate book, and you just use that for revision. Are there any ADMAT test series? Yes, we have, but we don't release it so early. So currently this is what it is. The ADMAT test series will be launched at a later point of time. How to beat engineers in quant? Okay, you don't try to beat engineers in quant. You try to beat whoever you can. I mean, it's not about engineers. A lot of engineers think that they are very, very good at quant, but if you look at CAT performance for a lot of them, you will see that is not the case. And same is true for non-engineers. Okay, so a lot of non-engineers may think that they might be good at, let's say, verbal, but again, the scores don't speak in the same manner. So I think a lot of this engineer, non-engineer thing, right, is overrated. See, ultimately, it's a test of aptitude. It doesn't matter whether you're an engineer or a non-engineer, which is a matter of choice or preference. That I didn't want to do commerce, so I decided to do engineering, or I didn't want to do engineering, so I decided to do commerce, right? It has got nothing to do with how I would perform on, say, a test which is checking aptitude, which is stuff that all of you have done at the school level, whether it is English or logic or quant. So don't have that sort of a goal. I would instead say, how can I beat myself, my own performances from the past? That if in a particular SimCAT I've got, let's say, 4 questions correct, how can I get 5 questions correct in the next one? Or let's say fast forward 3-4 SimCATs, how can I get 6 questions correct? So I would rather try to better myself than saying, okay, how do I beat some engineer or some non-engineer? Varun Gupta again, so that's a very limited data that is available, right? So I won't be able to help you much, because when you say I got 47 percentile in 24 and 67 in 25, I would say you give me some more information. If you can comment on this video once we're done with the session with your sectionals, with what sort of background you have, what do you do, etc. I will be able to guide you in a better manner. Most important topics in quant, arithmetic. So if I have to choose an area, it is going to be arithmetic, and it's not me who is saying this. Anybody, if you ask in the CAT prep industry and ask them, okay, what to focus on when it comes to quant, they will say arithmetic. Because if you take any year, you will see maximum number of questions come from arithmetic. And arithmetic also sets the stage for data interpretation, and that is why arithmetic is so important. So numbers, arithmetic, algebra, geometry, modern math. Out of 5, you have to be good at minimum 3 areas, and if you can be good at 5, then nothing like it. But as a starting goal, I would say numbers, arithmetic, algebra, or algebra, arithmetic, geometry. So if you can handle these 3, you're more or less sorted for CAT. Doesn't mean that you don't do other sections. So don't take this like, oh, I said 3 areas, so you will study 3 areas. No, you have to do all 5. But as you progress, you will develop strength in certain areas. For example, for me, it is generally arithmetic, so I'm good at that. But not so much, say, when it comes to modern math. I mean, if you give me a question of arithmetic versus modern math, 90% of the cases I'll jump towards the arithmetic question, because I know I'm good at it. It's not that I will not be able to do modern math, but just that knowing yourself very, very well. Like after doing how many questions we can say that any topic is quant syllabus always done first round, I can't give test. How many questions per topic in quant to do? Again, that number is different for different topics. So I would say something like a percentage or a profit loss discount. You end up becoming good at it somewhere in between, I think 50 to 100 questions. You don't need more than that. But something like a geometry or a modern math, maybe 200 questions of a topic, that sort of exposure will be required to be before you can even say that, okay, I'm reasonably good at it. I got 13 marks in VRC in SimCAT 0 as 5 correct, 3 wrong, 0 in quant and DILR. So everybody starts somewhere, right? So don't, as I said, right, don't be harsh on yourself. Whatever score you get, it's just telling you that you don't have enough content at this point of time. So you're trying to punch above your weight basically. Go back to your books, study more, figure out what sort of mistakes you made. If you got, let's say, negative mark or a 0, why were you not able to do something? So let's say DLR, for example. Let's say you don't have a lot of content with you. You maybe have done only one module. Now when you go, you at least go through all the sets, see the one which you think is the easiest, just break your head over it for say 20 minutes. And if you are able to solve that, that also is a win according to me. Out of RCs, 4 RCs, you identify the easiest RC, something that you like reading, let's say technology, for example. You pick that RC, you spend 10 minutes on it, you answer all the questions. Let's say you spend total 15 minutes on it, but you get 3 questions correct. That is still a win. So chase these small wins and then start thinking of bigger things, because otherwise it's not going to happen. I just gave pre-SimCAT 2. Got 51 in quant and found it very easy, but benchmark is much better. Why is that? No, so pre-SimCATs, as I said, right, they're easy. We tell everybody that they're easy. So it's basically introduction to what SimCATs are going to be. So don't take your pre-SimCAT scores very seriously, I would say. Take the test seriously, but don't be super happy or super sad with what you get. Okay. I'm a repeater, help me with VRC. I am not able to score good in VRC, also guide me for GMAT. Okay. No, so for VRC, the thing that helped me the most, right, and I'm somebody who firstly never studied in a English medium school. When I was a student, the biggest mistake that I did, right, was I used to take full length test. I never used to analyze why I was getting something wrong. And because I was getting low score, even after, let's say, solving more questions, I used to think that what's the point? And it kept on becoming, I got worse at my area of improvement, which was VRC as a section. So that's a mistake. So if you're making mistakes, firstly go and identify, okay, what is going wrong? So if I'm not getting, let's say, a certain RC question correct, or let's say some summary question wrong, what have I done? What is the author trying to say? Go through all the text explanation, the video explanation and all of that, and see where the logical flaw is. That is the only way you will get better. So if you are bad at a particular section or you are improving in a particular section, the way to get better faster is to spend more time with it and not run away from it, which is what I did as a student. Fast forward several years, when I got a 99.7 on the verbal, the only thing that made a big difference was the amount of reading that I was doing. So in that particular year, I must have read close to 50 books. And since then, I've never been able to do that because there were other things happening and all of that. So the more you read and the more RCs and VA questions you solve, obviously you're going to get better. It's just that people don't want to take the effort that is required. I'm a student of the IMS classroom program. Would I get access to at the ADMAT test series or do I have to pay extra? No, Anshul, you're covered. Don't worry. How to make the best use of IMS material? As I see, there are a lot of things. Okay, so for now, I would say follow a plan, which is before you attend a classroom session, do something. That something can be going through the physical courseware that you have, or doing the pre-class quiz or the pre-class videos, so that you have some foundation. In class, the faculty, the mentor will discuss the class exercise. Post that, complete practice exercise within the next few days, and then do the benchmarking test. That's the part to follow for every individual topic. Then once you're done with the module, take the module test. Once you're comfortable with a particular section, do the section test. So section test can be reserved for later as well, because you will have enough opportunity to do it, let's say post-August. For now, stick to the SimCAT schedule. Whenever proctored SimCATs happen, take them during the window. The take-home SimCATs, you can keep it for a later point of time. Okay, so don't have to jump onto them at this point of time. Try and cover as much as possible your syllabus. Try and finish it by say August or so that you can then do more full-length test taking post that. Manan, happy to see you here. So since you have written was in 2017 batch, classes and teachers helped a lot, which allowed me to do well in CAT. Thanks for joining. I hope you had a good experience at IMS and you're doing very well right now. GMAT guide, how to start along with CAT, I'm repeating at IMS. So I'm not sure if you have enrolled with us for GMAT. We also train students for the test. So your GMAT mentors will be able to help you more on that front. But whatever I know about GMAT is if you are doing your CAT prep, slightly advanced prep for the verbal section will be required for GMAT. Not a lot of effort considering your VA for verbal, the verbal for CAT is already at a certain benchmark. So just do the additional stuff from the official guide or the mocks that you get. And that should suffice. But again, if you're enrolled, then better talk to your GMAT mentors because personally, I've never taken the GMAT. How can we manage with our college exams? Okay, so college exams will happen only once in your life. So take them with whatever sincerity that you can bring to the table. See, because of whatever reasons, let's say this is clashing with your college exams get the priority, then this, right? I'm very clear on that front. Because your college grades matter for admission, if you mess things up there and do very well here, you're still going to have a problem. So instead of that, you can then say, okay, I have my college exams, let me focus on that. After that, you put in slightly more effort to cover the the backlog that is there, right? So you'll be able to cover it up. But don't prioritize your SimCATs over your college exams. And see, everything is about optimizing whatever time you have. So, I mean, if I tell you that all of you have, let's say, 8 hours today, somebody will use only 1 hour productively, somebody will use 8 hours productively. So you have to figure out how you want to manage the time that you get rather than saying, okay, it's really a battle to identify what I should be doing. How many books or how many hours of reading per day is required to be good at VRC? So it depends, but anybody can be good at it by reading, let's say, about 30 to 40 minutes a day. Reading good stuff, that is, and doing it over a period of time. What happens is people don't trust the process, so they want to see immediate improvement. And it's like medicine, right? You have a headache, you think that you take a medicine, you want a sudden fix to it, but getting better at VRC is not like that. So it will take time. Like it's like 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Gradually, things will start becoming better. Okay. Yeah, Ansh, you can do that. Ansh Meghani, for your question, you can definitely have a look at that. So all IMS resources that are available, you can check them out. Can suggest sources from where we should read. Lot of sources. I mean, Arts and Letters Daily is a very good source. Atlas Obscura is another very good source that is available. Aeon, I think pretty much everybody has started recommending since we started recommending it. Longreads.com. But basically, you can read anything. New Yorker, New York Times, Guardian. There are n number of sources that are available. Okay. Yeah, AK Gaming, if you're planning to enroll for the GMAT, you can just reach out to us. So, I mean, you can get in touch with us for free counseling, right? So, you can just fill any form and get in touch with us. Or what you can do is you can leave a comment on this video and I'll give you a number or some place where you can basically reach out to us through. How much hours or months is really enough to crack CAT for a normal average candidate? Math not strong, non-engineer, practice enough marks, no extra, but optimum time. Okay, so see, if you look at it, I mean, about 8 to 10,000 questions, as I mentioned, right? So let's say 8,000 questions if you're planning to do. Let's say you take about 5 minutes per question, right? You're basically talking about 40,000 hours, 40,000 minutes, sorry, right? So you can do the math and figure out, okay, how many days or hours it is going to be. Because again, see, somebody will have 2 hours per day. Somebody might be able to spend 4 hours a day. So it depends, right? My thing is, if you can target about 1,000 questions a day, 1,000 questions a month, which is about 30 questions a day, that's a decent enough number. So I can do about 25, 30, 35 questions per day. And if I continue that effort over the next 8 months, that should be good enough for most of the students. Is it suggested to read these articles, essays instead of books or novels? Yes, because you can get more variety that way. I mean, if you, let's say, commit to a novel, it might take you, let's say, 3, 4 days to finish it. And because CAT generally does not ask fiction, that novel reading isn't going to help you too much apart from your own enjoyment. So reading articles might be a better bet than just reading novels. Okay. All right. So I think we'll end it here. Thank you so much for watching. We have spent about an hour, which is generally what we target for these sessions. So thank you so much for joining, and I hope it has helped you. In case your query did not get answered or you want more help, just leave a comment on this video once we're done, and I'll try and get back as soon as I can. Okay. Thank you so much for joining. Hope the session has helped you, and wish all of you all the best for the upcoming SimCAT season. I'll see you very soon in the next set of videos that we have planned for you. Okay. Thank you. And in case you haven't subscribed, do it right away. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.